I'm going to keep this straightforward because I know a lot of you are sitting there wondering if you should spend a few thousand on a digital desk that promises everything from a studio-grade mic preamp to motorized faders that can remember your mix. The biggest hesitation I hear is the fear of buying a piece of gear that sounds great on the spec sheet, but ends up being a headache in the real world. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. In the next few minutes, I'll walk through what it's really like to set up, run, and troubleshoot a Behringer X32, what kind of people actually get value from it, and where it might feel like overkill. First off, let's talk about the environment this console lives in. The X32 sits at the sweet spot between a 24-channel analog board you'd find in a small club and the massive digital rigs used for touring productions. With 40 input channels and 25 mix buses, you've got enough headroom to run a full drum kit with separate mics, a few guitars, keyboards, vocalists, and still have spare channels for a monitor mix or a playback source. That flexibility is a real game changer for anyone who regularly needs to juggle multiple sources. Think a house band that also handles backing tracks, or a project studio that records live sessions with a full ensemble. Now, the first thing most new owners notice is the 32 MIDAS-designed preamps. They're not just a marketing line. They actually sound clean enough that you can hear the nuance of a condenser vocal or an acoustic guitar without the harshness you sometimes get from cheaper designs. In a live setting, that means less time chasing hiss on stage monitors, and in a studio, it means you can capture a decent raw signal before you even hit any plugins. The preamps are fully programmable, so you can store gain structures for different shows or sessions and pull them back with a single tap of a button, something that saves a lot of setup time when you're moving between gigs. The motorized faders are another point that separates the X32 from a lot of entry-level desks. Each of the 25 faders is 100 millimeters, giving you a decent travel distance for precise moves. What makes them practical is the automation. If you've ever tried to manually recall a complex mix on a static board, you know how painful it can be. On the X32, once you've saved a scene, the faders physically move to the saved positions. In a live show, that means you can have a clean transition from a band's acoustic set to a full-blown rock set without a human having to remember each fader's exact spot. In the studio, it's a huge time saver when you're bouncing multiple mixes and want to revert to a known starting point. The LCD scribble strips on every channel and bus are subtle but incredibly useful. They let you label each input with a short description: kick, snare top, guitar amp, Vox 1, and the text updates in real time as you change routing. That eliminates the need for a sticky note on the console or a mental map of which input is which is especially handy when you have a lot of inputs plugged in at once. The dynamic nature of the displays also means you can see mute, solo, or phase status at a glance, reducing the chance of a slip-up that could ruin a performance. So who should actually consider buying this? If you run a medium-sized venue, say a club that hosts bands ranging from 3-piece acoustic acts to 5-piece rock groups, the X32 gives you the channel count and routing flexibility to handle any lineup without having to rent additional gear. It's also a solid choice for a project studio that wants to record live bands, podcasts with multiple guests, or even a small post-production suite where you need to pull in several stems and route them to separate monitor mixes. The built-in USB interface, XUSB, lets you send 32 inputs and 16 outputs directly to a DAW, so you can record multi-track without a separate audio interface, which is a cost saver for anyone building a hybrid live recording setup. On the flip side, if you're a solo artist or a home studio that only records vocals and a guitar, you'll likely find the X32's size, weight, and learning curve unnecessary. A compact audio interface with a few preamps could do the job for a fraction of the price and with a much simpler workflow. Likewise, if you're after a console that's primarily an effects processor, say you want a board packed with reverbs, delays, and modulation built in, you'll find the X32's built-in FX section respectable, but not as deep as some high-end digital desks that specialize in that area. In that scenario, you might pair the X32 with an external effects rack or a software suite, which adds complexity. Let's talk about the practical downsides you'll run into. The biggest one is the learning curve. The X32 is feature-rich, and the menu system, while logically laid out, isn't exactly intuitive for